Kia ora to all. My name is Sam and I am from Prosper. We are putting on today's event. For those of you who don't know us, as that video suggested, we are a careers platform that helps students find the best start to their career. You might all know us from Grad New Zealand, which sort of shows in that part of my background there. But without further ado, I'd like to kick off today's event by welcoming our wonderful panelists that we've got on with us today. I'm going to slowly begin spotlighting them so you can all see them as well. Hello, Soraya.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Neve. And hello, and hello, Peter. Welcome.
Hi, everyone.
How's everyone doing? Everyone all ready for today's event?
Yep, rock on.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So for us students who have jumped in, a bit of a sort of icebreaker. Chuck in your name and the university you're from in the chat function. And if you've got some questions for our panel, make sure you put it in there as well. And if we have time, make sure we jump into them. But I'd like to start very quickly with a question for everyone for the panel. And I might start first with, I reckon, Soraya, I'm going to start with yourself. If you could introduce yourself, your role within BNZ, and tell us a little bit more about BNZ as well.
Sure. Okay. Kia ora, everyone. Like Sam said, my name is Soraya Zareb, and I'm here from BNZ, and I'm part of our strategy team. And what that kind of means is we deal with the executive team and our board of directors and implement their kind of key strategies within the bank. And our lens is around making sure it makes sense for our customers and our bankers, and providing that feedback to our executives. So I've been with BNZ, this is coming up 9 years now, actually, and thrilled to be here because my journey with banking started as a graduate in our corporate and commercial team. And in terms of what our organisation does, I guess we are a bank. So fundamentally, we're around helping our customers and helping our communities prosper. And that ranges from everything from helping people into their first homes and achieving their financial goals, increasing financial literacy within New Zealand and our communities, as well as partnering with our customers to grow their businesses and take on new markets.
Fantastic. Peter, I might throw to you next. Same question. Tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit more about FNZ.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Peter Gibson. I'm the global head of FNZ Academy. I just actually moved into this role probably this week. I previously was heading up our what we call our solutions centre, looked after all of the analyst developers and testers here in region. So my role is very much around sort of building up all of the capability and the technical training for all of our, probably about 2,000 staff that we have on a global basis. So starting that journey up, which is going to be very, very exciting to engage and bring through the new talent in our organisation, but also take them through their journey of lifetime learning and things as well. So FNZ, I've been with the company for about 4.5 years. I had the privilege of being a customer of theirs at one stage on the other side. Got to love the company, what they did, and came and joined them about 4.5 years ago. What do? We build wealth platforms for big multinational companies, and it's great to have someone like BNZ on the other side with Soraya here. That a company like a bank like BNZ is one of our customers who use our technology and our services to help their customers secure their wealth, and we've been doing that now. I think we're in about 20 different jurisdictions. We've got 4,000 staff globally, and we're growing very, very fast as an organisation. So we're about building wealth platforms to help our customers engage with their customers in a digital manner.
Fantastic. Thanks, Peter. Same question, Neve. Tell us about yourself and tell us about ASB.
Thank you. Thanks, Sam. Kia ora. I'm Neve. I am the graduate talent lead at ASB. I have been in the role for just under a year. So I started in April last year. And prior to that, I was kind of on the other side as well. I was in professional services for about 5 years. So really excited to talk about all things banking and financial services. So a little bit about ASB. So very similar to Soraya, we are one of the big banks within New Zealand. Our purpose is to accelerate the financial progress of all New Zealanders, whether that be very similar, purchasing your own home, starting your own business, KiwiSaver, private wealth investment, all that kind of stuff as well. And in terms of my role specifically, my role sits within the organisational development team. It's responsible for looking our attraction and selection process to get all of our grads, interns and early career on board. And then it also follows them through the programme, which can be up to 18 to 24 months. And then what we call roll them off the programme into the wider business. So I look after pretty much that entire process from start to finish, which is really exciting. And I'm really looking forward to having a chat with everyone on the panel today.
Fantastic. And we do have one more panelist. Just bear with me as I promote Claire, who is just joining in shortly. Actually, while I wait for Claire to jump in, maybe I'll throw to our first question for our panelists. And Nick, I'll stick with you actually, while you're most recently have spoken. First question is, most important piece of advice you'd give to students who are looking to work not just within ASB, or that's obviously very important, but it's in the wider banking and financial services sector more broadly?
Yeah, so I think this is a really great question, because I think all of us panelists will agree that traditionally financial services and banking have been either seen as a bit dry or a bit hard to get into, or a little bit old school potentially. And so my one piece of advice would be to keep an open mind. Like, if someone had told me 10 years ago, 12 years ago that I would be with an English literature degree working in a bank in New Zealand, I'd have been like, you're joking, like that's never going to happen. But now that I am working in a bank, I see actually how all the opportunities that come through are really relevant to me as a person, and also my skills that I want to develop. So you don't have to be, I mean, I do speak a little bit for ASB here, but you don't have to be doing finance, you don't have to be doing audit and assurance, you don't have to be doing accounting. It's very much like how you will bring that diversity of thought, and how you will impact the the work that we're trying to do, because essentially we're all trying to better New Zealand and better the economy and do all those things, and in particular community. So it's really important to keep an open mind, and don't discard, sorry, this is probably two pieces of advice, but don't think traditionally about banking and FS and think that's not for me. Explore it. You might explore it and find it's still not quite right for you, but don't close the book on it too early. It would be my advice, is definitely explore the opportunities, see the type of work you could be doing, and reach out to people like us, come to panels like this, like keep an open mind when it comes to banking and FS would probably be my top one.
Awesome. So I reckon same question for you. Number one piece of advice for students looking to work at BNZ, but also at in the financial services sector more broadly?
I probably have to reiterate what Nate has said around keep an open mind, because same thing. I have my backgrounds in chemistry and finance, but didn't think I'd be sitting here, especially 8 years later, working for a bank. But the opportunities are endless, depending on what you want to achieve in your career. And the biggest piece of advice I would say is bring your whole self to work, because as an organisation we want diversity of background but also of thought. In the financial sector it's changing at pace, and I guess we need people to come in who have different ideas, so that we can stay current and move with where New Zealand and a global economy are going.
Probably important question for everyone, to be honest. So Pete, I'm going to throw to you as well. Same question. Number one piece of advice for students.
It's interesting, both Neve and Soraya have said some of the things that I was going to articulate, and both I was at a couple of points there. But I think bring yourself to work. I think one of the things there is when we work in these industries, we're both the makers of the technology and the solutions, but also the users of those as well. So when we're building out solutions, I always talk to my team about build these things for that you are going to use. Make sure that you are not just here to do a task, you're here to use the products we're going to create. Build things for your friends, build things for your mums and your dads, because they are the users of the products and the services that we're going to we're doing on a daily basis. And noting that, this high-end industry is very, very fast changing. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of innovation coming into the sector. And so I think be open-minded to the opportunities that this environment can sort of open up. And going back to something Neve was saying before, I came from a background, I was a sports physiotherapist, and now I've ended up in wealth management. And the opportunities for organisations like that we've got in these areas here is absolutely immense. So don't close your eyes to the potentials that you can get from this industry.
Just a bit of a follow-up question on that, Peter. In terms of, you mentioned some big changes you see in the space and in the sector more broadly. Is there anything particular you see as big areas of growth or big areas of change that maybe students might not be aware about coming in the future?
Yeah, one of the big things that we are trying to do at the moment is help consumers, you and I, people who want to invest their money, invest it in more into products, into solutions and companies which are doing better things for society and for the environment as well. Traditionally people would invest in companies that their mums and dads or someone else had told them to invest in, but there's a lot of really great companies out there that are looking for capital, that are doing, building great things in solar and wind and water conservation and new technologies and industries. And those companies need capital and they need people to invest in them. And a big thing around what we're trying to do at the moment is help to redirect that capital into the areas by giving really good insights into to consumers like you and I around what are those companies and what is their carbon footprint, and how can I help to make a wee bit of a difference by investing into the right areas, not just into areas that fund managers are telling me to invest in as well.
Sorry, same question, because I know you're in the strategy team more broadly. Is there big changes you see on the horizon, both at BNZ, but just more broadly in the banking financial services space?
Yeah, it's funny. Peter just touched on exactly what came to mind when you asked that question. That's around that sustainable finance sort of framework, and making sure that is in the banking industry, but as Peter said, with capital, it's going into sustainable practices. And so as a bank, that's a massive area of focus for us, and also an opportunity to make sure that what we are supporting and we in New Zealand are things that are going to help get greenhouse gases down and get us to that net zero by 2050. I guess we want people in our organisation who are passionate about making a difference, because this is a key area where I think a lot of time and money is needed to be spent. But it's a great area to work with.
Awesome. Changing gears now, I do want to ask, 'cause I'm sure there's a lot of students who are very keen, potentially looking to apply right now for grad programs and the like. So maybe a bit of a question for students who are in that process. And Neve, I'll start with you. In terms of what ASB is looking for in their candidates, is there anything that students should show to progress to the next round after they've applied? Any standout qualities?
Yeah, I in equal parts love this question and hate this question, because I think it's really hard to articulate how you show yourself as a person and how you can potentially add to the culture, not necessarily fit into it. So for me, it's we really respond to proactiveness, conscientiousness, taking the time to, if you've had an interview or you've done a video interview, maybe following up to just say thank you for that opportunity, I can't wait to hear more. Being responsive as well is really good. So sometimes you kind of want to talk to a candidate quite quickly and they can be a little bit like, like this week, for example, they're like, oh, which company are you? Like, I've applied for loads of roles. And you're like, that's great, but maybe just be a little bit more conscious of the roles that we really want you, but we also want to know that you care about the role that you've applied for with us. That's just as important. And I think the other thing as well, and this is probably a shift I've seen over the past 2 years actually, is the anxiety state of students is much higher than it's ever been. They're very conscious of the changing economy, the changing world, virtual versus in person. They've had to go through a lot of change, and I think with that adds a layer of panic when it comes to applying for roles, which can then turn into kind of chasing, following up, connecting with different people if you don't get an answer straight away. And I think the one piece of advice I would say, and I think I probably speak for Peter and Soraya as well, is as leaders in this space, we have your back, and we will come back to you. We will give you we will give you an update, we will give you a process, but we're also working through all of those same issues as well. So I think my other piece of advice to kind of stand out and to also have like a really positive experience in any process is just to take a step back, look at your information, look at what you've applied for, make sure that when you do answer the phone, you're not just saying, oh, you're kind of like, hi, this is Neve, how can I help? Just those kinds of conscious things, it really does make a difference. So I think in terms of the grads that we look for at ASB, that's kind of the things that stand out, is that it's that almost that level of maturity in such a dynamic and unstable environment at the moment.
In terms of demonstrating that level of maturity as well, as a bit of a follow-up to that, Neve, like, is it like X level experience? Is it something they put across like personally in the application somehow? Like how can they demonstrate that?
Yeah, so even things like language, so that's a big one for me. Instead of putting hey, put hi. Instead of putting cheers, maybe put kind regards or something like that. In terms of demonstrating that maturity, I think it's also being flexible. So a lot of the time, we do try and work things. We're running multiple assessment days. We've got lots of interviews planned. We try to make sure that you have an option of choice. But a lot of the time, we are going to clash with things. And so maybe that flexibility around, actually, I really want this role. I want the experience that this virtual assessment might give me. I'll be flexible and I'll work around that probably a little bit more as well. And just things like following up in the right way. So, making sure that after an interview, you maybe flick an email across, even, to the lead or to the people you've interviewed with. It just shows that you've taken away the information. You've also really valued the experience, because regardless of whether you get the role or not, it's still an experience that's going to help you in the future. So I think demonstrating that, even if you're not the preferred candidate, even if you thought the interview wasn't great or whatever, that shows that level of maturity to be able to take that feedback and grow from it and work through it that way.
Awesome. Thanks, Nina. Thanks for the answering the follow-up as well.
Sorry, was that supposed to for everyone else? Sorry,
no, that was for you. No, it was for you. It was more like I was trying to keep you on your toes.
That's all good.
Peter,
coming.
Yeah, Peter, same question in terms of the first one. What does FNZ look for in a candidate? And same part of is there anything like they need to do to sort of progress to the next round of applications and the like?
Yeah, what I've always been in, as I'm an outcome of that as well, being flexible around, we're very, very flexible on the type of background that you've gone through university. So the door is never closed to you. We're bringing in people who've got a maths and a science and a psychology degree and physics and, computer science, the works, and health sciences. So there's a whole range of talent that can come in here. But what I'm typically looking for once people start applying for roles and we start talking to them is people who are really proud of what they've achieved. When you come and talk to us and demonstrate, talk to the things that you've achieved at university, achieved through helping your colleagues around and their cohort of, being involved in different activities around the university. Demonstrate to us and to me that you're good at working in teams as well. What kind of group activities you've been involved in, just being proud of being able to demonstrate the hard work that you put in over the last 3 to 4 years at university is paying back. And I can see your grades. I can see your, what sort of subjects you've gone through. Tell me a wee bit about yourself and how and what kind of skills you're going to bring to the organisation and why this is an opportunity for you. Definitely go through and have a look at our websites and understand the business. Now, we're looking for talent. You're looking for an opportunity. You need to understand that opportunity is going to be something compelling for you. So yeah, there's a wee bit about doing your homework and being really passionate when you turn up in front of an interview session that you're fully engaged during that session.
Awesome. Soraya, do you want to add in terms of what BNZ looks for in an applicant? Any thoughts?
Yeah, so I guess it's probably all of the things that Peter and Neve have said, but I guess the one thing that I'd add to it is banking and in general finances is that's something that we can teach you. The things that we can't teach you are the passion and the ability to learn and coming to work and caring about whatever it is that you care about. So if that's your customers and your colleagues, that's really what's important to us. It's about having the intellectual horsepower, and it doesn't matter on your background, whether that is banking, finance, accounting, marketing, you name it, or a science background. It's about you coming to work and showing us that you care, basically.
Awesome. I've got a question from Sam, great name, from our audience, and I'll sort of tweak it slightly. The question is, do any of you offer internships, particularly in the July-November intake, but potentially building on from that question, maybe you could clarify what kind of programs you each have, graduate programs, internships, and the like as well. Soraya, I might start with you. Firstly, internships, that's something BNZ have, particularly in July or November?
I'll have to check on the July timeframes, but we definitely do internships, especially over the summer months. And then we have our graduate programs. So in particular, we've got our corporate, so our business banking, corporate commercial, and our agriculture streams, as well as risk and markets, and all sorts of, I guess, different types of graduate programs. And most of them, I guess, importantly, lead to a full-time role at the end of it. So most of them are fast track opportunities.
Awesome. Neve, same question. Internships, is that something you have, particularly in that period, but also what other programs do you have?
Yeah, so we do have internships. Traditionally, they are November through to February, so the traditional summer internship. But we have been known to do the some co-op placements as well, because I know that that period is when a lot of students need that experience and need that co-op opportunity. And if we can make it work and fit into a certain team that we're looking for help in at that time, then we absolutely will. So my advice from an application perspective would be, if you need a co-op, but you are also interested in an internship, apply anyway. Maybe explain that in your application, tell us as much information as you can, because if we can make it work, more often than not, we will. And then in terms of, so our internship program runs for about 12 weeks, it ends up being about 10 weeks, I think, with the Christmas, the summer shutdown. Then we also have our graduate program. So our graduate program is a permanent role from day one. So you are a full-time employee. However, you will spend usually between 18 to 24 months rotating around the different stream of your business area. So, for example, business banking or private banking, wealth and insurance, or the people team, all those different areas. You may also have the opportunity to cross rotate. So, rotate into the risk team if you're really interested in that, and rotate into the technology team. So that's the kind of the function of the rotational program. One thing to note on our internships is they are not rotational, and that is purely because that you're with us for such a short amount of time that you wouldn't gain anything from being shuffled into different teams every week. So that's just one factor that's different. But yeah, we offer, and same to Steve's point, we don't have, Peter's point, we don't have any prerequisite really of study or anything like that. It's pretty much just what you are passionate about, how you show that passion. You can pretty much have studied anything, but if you can articulate why you're interested in the program or the specific team, that's going to take you just as far as if you had a really specialized skill set.
Awesome. Thanks, Neve. Peter, do FNZ have internships? And also, could you clarify what kind of programs you do have, grad programs, etc. as well?
Yeah, so both internships and graduate programs. Internships, we took 10 people through internship middle of the year last year, so for their 2-week period. Those people then worked a wee bit part-time for us as well throughout the rest of the year, which was great. We had another big intake over this summer period as well. And those of the cohort went through there, probably 90% of them have gone back to university and continued working with us as well. So doing sort of 10 hours a week, if that's what they want to do. So gives them a bit of extra level of some money coming in, as well as staying engaged with us during that time. Our graduate program is continuous. We are hiring every week. I've had 2 people start this week alone, but every week we're hiring in our graduate program, both for here in New Zealand and also overseas. We've got an appetite at the moment for a lot of graduates globally. We were founded in New Zealand, and our group CEO loves the talent we find here in New Zealand. As he's just said to me, hire as many as you can as long as you let them go when I want them. So that is what we try and do, and we open up the opportunities in that way. So it's continuously hiring on grads, 2 cohorts on the interns.
Bit of a follow-up question that's come through from Cyrus about application periods. The question was specifically in regards to the sort of summer internships, but maybe it might be worth just clarifying. I mean, Peter, you've already sort of said always hiring for grads, which is great. Those interns, when do you roughly open and close applications for those?
For us, it would be a wee bit around, we team in with other organisations around, so typically around about September for that summertime, so September, October, we open up the internships. Then middle of the year, it's on all the time. So it's people just applying for the roles, and we'll take them through an assessment centre type approach, and people let us know what their intentions are if they were looking to do an internship. Also supporting other careers, industries out there where people need to do a rotation internship as part of their course as well. So it's not necessarily just for that they need some extra experience, but they need to facilitate some hours to finish off their course. So how do we sort of support that as well?
Fantastic. Soraya, same question. Application open and close dates for your campaigns, particularly summer interns, but just in general?
So our graduate roles are open now, and we typically take around 30 or so permanent roles, and we do a large cohort. So I guess they create an awesome support system within our business. And in terms of internships, they are generally, like I said, I think over the summer period, but do keep an eye on our website because I guess for the right people, we create opportunities.
Fantastic. Neve, same question. Application open and close date for your campaigns?
Yeah, so we are open now for both grad and intern. So we have the exact same process for a graduate or an intern. There's no difference in the process at all. And the reason for that is at the end of the internship, we have a discussion around whether you'd like to either do a second internship or rejoin us as a graduate. And so we kind of thought, well, there's no point putting you through a whole new process because you're already awesome and you're with us. So we do have the same process. I think with the timing, over the past couple of years, ASB in particular have gone a little bit later to market as a kind of response to COVID, whereas this year we are going alongside the other banks, alongside of the Big Four, and so it is that period now between March and April that we go kind of hardcore. What I would say hardcore for the first drive. So our applications are open until the 14th of April, but I would still encourage people to apply earlier because we are working people through the process before then as well.
Fantastic. Might be a bit of a curveball, this question, hopefully not. But Peter, you sort of touched on like Group CEO was really keen on grads. So maybe I'll start with you first. I just really want to, it'd be really great to understand, particularly all the students, why do you all hire students? Like what's the drive? And so Peter, I might start with FNZ. Why hire students?
We've just got a really big growth appetite at the moment for our business. There's a lot of the graduates that come on have been, are very accommodating to a really, really learning environment. Bringing in seniors is great. They come in with a certain skill set and a certain attitude and way of working. Graduates are quite great. They're great because, you can not. This might sound bad, but we can mold them the way that we want them to come through and build them into the culture and things as well. And they bring a level of enthusiasm, and they're fun to work with. I've worked with so many, and for me, it's been a pleasure seeing people come into a new career and growing through. But for us, it's always been part of our DNA that the graduate program has been a big part. So we just we're told to allocate a lot of time and effort to graduates. So you're lucky in that sense that you're in the right place at the right time leaving university.
Awesome. Thanks, Peter. Zariah, same question. Grads, why are they important to BNZ?
I guess so. Like Peter, we've been taking on grads for years and years, and the main thing that they bring, I guess, is they're not institutionalized, so they question things. They challenge the status quo. They bring their energy and passion to our organisation, and they lift the culture basically. And when I look across our senior leaders at BNZ, a lot of them have come through as graduates, and whether they've stayed with BNZ or gone away and come back, what they really bring is that difference of thought. And they, like I said, they question how we do things, and they're not institutionalized, and their passion, really passion mindset.
Neve, same question. Why does ASB hire grads? And students more broadly?
Yeah, so just to echo everything that Peter and Zariah have said, that diversity of thought, that adding to the culture, that new lens, that new perspective. For us, it's a big part of that growth journey as well. So when traditionally at ASB, we've taken grads, I think, for the past 15 years. Our cohorts have traditionally been quite small, so between 15 to 20 each year, which still provides that cohort connectivity, but it's also still quite a small number in terms of, ratio to the rest of the employees. Last year we took 45, this year we're looking at 55. So the impact of, I think, technology growth, virtual aspects has actually made way for, well, actually we can afford to have more grads now because they bring this diversity, they bring this they bring this different level of energy. And also when we were going into, I think 2021 was probably the hardest year in terms of, borders were closed, we couldn't get that skill set from overseas, even in those mid to senior levels. And so the shift was very much, well, let's look at who we've got here. We've got a great bunch of people who are passionate, eager, in New Zealand, which is a plus, able to actually join. And it was more of a conversation around, let's take a risk and hire more because we're going to develop and grow these people more. And that has been a really well received part of our process as well. And similar to Zariah's point, I think a lot of our heads of kind of senior leaders have come through the grad program. Some have left and gone and then come back, which is even a better kind of experience as well. So I think as well for us, it's very much in our purpose. Like, how do you accelerate the financial progress of New Zealanders if you don't help accelerate the job market and help accelerate these opportunities? So similar to what Peter said, it's very much kind of in our DNA and has been for quite a while.
Fantastic. Neve, I'm going to stay with you for the next question, because you've mentioned a couple of times that you're actually quite degree agnostic and that you're not too phased about what a degree student might have. So I get probably a bit of a follow-up question to that is, are there minimum requirements that a student might need to have to be accepted both in the grad program or the internship as well, whether it's citizenship or there's a particular level of certification they need? I'll throw that to you.
Yeah. So I find this question really interesting because I feel like there's a lot of shift to and it's quite controversial as a graduate recruiter to say, do you actually need to have a degree? At the moment, we are still asking for that as a requirement, so a minimum of a bachelor's or equivalent from a polytech potentially. So one thing I'd say is if you have studied at a polytech, please do still apply. Don't not apply because you think it has to be from maybe a more recognised university. That's an urban myth for ASB that is just not true. So please do definitely submit an application in that sense. In terms of citizenship, so we are open to international students. The way it works for us is we would, because we hire so far in advance, we'd hope that you would have your open work visa your post-study open work visa by the time you join us. But there has been some instances where that's not been the case, and we can work with you to try and make that happen. So again, please don't not apply because of that. In terms of our internship programs, we do ideally like penultimate year interns. It's rare that we would take first year interns purely because they've only got a year's experience, and they're usually very, very keen and eager and might want to go off and do different internships in other places, which is great. And I think if you take a cohort that's bigger then having those types of interns come through the program is awesome. But with us, we only take between 10 to 12 interns at the moment. And so what we're really trying to do is feed our grad pipeline. So we're looking for people who are really interested in a grad role or a second internship, and maybe thinking this is a great opportunity to figure out if banking's for me. So that would probably be a little bit of a prerequisite on our internships. And then just final one on grad programs is we loosely recommend that you have graduated within the last 2 years. However, if you say you're 2.5 years out or 3 years out, but you're really passionate and you really want to get into this industry, I'd definitely apply and really articulate that in your application, particularly if you've been working, during that time and really trying to kind of crack through into that industry that you're interested in. So that's a little bit of a loose one, I would say, but those are the general things. And other than that, we pretty much welcome all applications.
Fantastic. I'm a same question, and I'll go to Soraya. Minimum requirements that students should be aware of, both for grad program and internship, citizenship, level of study, degrees even.
Sure. So I guess from an international perspective, really open to that. A visa is a requirement for us, but like we said, we work with candidates if they're passionate and they're the right fit for us and we're the right fit for them. We work with that. I guess there's not only one way to get into banking. There's obviously the graduate program. So a criteria for that is a degree or qualification of some description. Again, it doesn't need to be finance and accounting, economics related. We just want to see an ability to learn. And so if you can demonstrate that with a qualification, that kind of ticks that box for us. And then it's what do you bring? But obviously we've got other entry roles into banking that don't require a level of qualification, even for school leavers. So if banking is something that you are interested in, then have a look on our career website, because we're interested in people from all backgrounds, and just want some good people. I guess really is fundamental, that have those good emotional, intelligent kind of skills and ability to learn and want to come to work. And
Perfect. Peter, same question. Any minimum requirements that students should be aware of, citizenship and degree-wise?
No, I think we're a company who's we're bringing in foreign students both here in New Zealand, but we also, because we've got so many countries that we operate in overseas, having those other visa things and stuff as well just opens up other opportunities for people as well. University side things, we want to see people we've got to potentially come through, have put a lot of effort into their studies and got through to a degree, something along those lines. But we're opening up a lot more opportunities into the other polytechnics and things as well. We're generally pretty flexible. All backgrounds, whatever you've worked at or done at university is acceptable as well. So for us, really, it's just around, we're looking for people just passionate who put a lot of effort into when they do. We talked about before about applying for a role, making sure that you've done your homework and you understand what you're getting yourself into and what this is an area you want to explore. So it's not going to be the end of your career, but if it's going to be the first part of your career, make sure that you know what you're getting into and you're engaged in as part of that process. And I think all three of us here are just looking for great people to come in, passionate people who want to come and join this industry. But you've got to bring yourself along that journey as well. Okay.
Fantastic. Final question for everyone, because I'm conscious of time. We do have to get to a great presentation from FNZ up next. But in a final word, one sentence, why should students apply with your organisation? Peter, I might start with you, given that you're speaking up next. So why should students apply to FNZ?
Hey, we're going through a major growth phase at the moment. There is a lot of opportunities. Is not within our organisation, you can greatly expand your career into multiple facets of and you can open up your opportunities to do a lot of overseas travel as part of an organisation like FNZ.
Perfect. Soraya, same question. One sentence. Why should students apply to BNZ?
it's a difficult one, isn't it, to articulate it in a sentence? But I guess fundamentally we're a people organisation, and so we put our people first, and that's really important because everything else kind of flows from that. And at banking, but BNZ in particular, the opportunities are endless, and it's far more reaching than I think you can understand or appreciate when you're not in the banking sector. I know that's how I definitely felt before joining BNZ, but you are the master of your own destiny, and there's a massive amount of support to go and to grow and to do whatever it is that you want to do. So it's a wonderful place to get a base and to figure out what your career is going to look like.
Neve, last but not least, final point, why should students apply to ASB?
Yeah, great question, and completely echo everything the other two panelists have said. I think for me, you should apply to ASB because when you join ASB, you join the ASB family. So you join a family, you join a cohort, we just wrap so much pastoral care around you to the point where you're never alone. You never have someone you can't talk to. We give you 3 different people that connect with you when you join in the grad program. So you get a buddy, a grad sponsor who's like your mentor for the whole program, and a line manager as well who oversees your work. You also have the connections with the Future Me team, and it's basically just the foundation where you can just be a sponge, and you can go across all these different areas, figure out why you know what you want to specialize in, if you want to specialize, where you want to go, what you want to do, and you get also the choice at the end of the program to take your career to that next step. So you get the choice as to where you go next. So that's
fantastic.
Today.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Neve. Thanks, Soraya. Thanks, Peter, for your time today on this panel, answering all of my questions. It's been very insightful, at least for me. So hopefully